First of all, what is co-living? What?
My words, co-living is communal living for the young professional or the professional that is in need of housing but can't afford an apartment on their own.
Yeah. I'm a real estate investor. What makes this attractive for me? It sounds like I have a lot more management to do if I'm managing, you know, all these different people instead of one family. So tell me more about that.
Yes, there's a little more inclusive management. There's a lot more moving pieces when you're dealing with leases and multiple leases on a house.
Welcome to Bringing It Home. Stories of hustle, homes, and high achievers. On today's episode, I'm stoked because we have an amazing guest that's actually helping investors generate five-figure cash flow in probably a strategy that you've never heard of. And it's my friend, business partner, and golf buddy, Matt Osman. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you having me. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And we're definitely going to dive into more about your investing experience and what you do. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit more about what you did before real estate and how you got into real estate.
How I got into real estate? Well, it starts pretty early on. Um, when I was a teenager, I had just finished high school, dropped out of college after a couple of weeks, and things weren't really lining up for me in Michigan, where I was from. And I had a friend who moved down to the Virgin Islands and came home one summer with a wad of cash this big. And I said, "Well, what are you doing?" She said, "Well, I'm bartending in the Virgin Islands." I said, "Awesome. I want to come. I want to do this." So I went down, and that was probably the driving force of my life after that, because I met so many great connections, met my wife down there,
Wow.
and but also got to develop a lot of network, a strong network down there, from wealthy snowbirds, as we call them, down to just the poorest of poor, and they really gave me a lot of life lessons. So once I realized that I wanted to marry my wife, one of my regulars says to me, he says, "Boy, you don't keep a wife by being a bartender."
Probably good advice.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense coming from a billionaire." So I figured the best way to do that utilized my skills as a bartender, but also generated some good money, was real estate. So I figured once we got back up to the States, which we moved back in 2013, we moved up to the States here in Charlotte. And at that point, I saw all the growth that was happening here, just construction everywhere. And I said, "Okay, I picked the right place to start my real estate journey." And then within a few years, I saved up enough money to start real estate school, and that's where it went from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Humble beginnings.
Yeah, yeah.
Bartending to investor expert, really?
Yeah, especially in this field with what we're about to talk about today with co-living. I mean, we've really honed it in over the last 5 years and developed a really great investment strategy that really gives investors wonderful returns, and then also solves affordable housing. So we're on to something
Yeah.
really strong here.
Best of both worlds.
Especially because of how poor I used to be.
Yeah.
I would like housing to be a little bit more affordable for other people.
Oh, absolutely. No, it makes perfect sense. So obviously in real estate, there's setbacks. I mean, I know we've talked about several things that have come up, on different deals, transactions. So what was there a major mindset shift when you started in real estate versus now? And what do you think led to that mindset shift?
I think mindset shifts come either with experience, or you're almost like, especially in the beginning, you almost have to brainwash yourself. You have to take from the examples that other successful people set that you want to be like. And most of those people, I realized, especially in the beginning, um, were go givers. That's that book, Go Giver?
Go giver, yeah.
Yeah, I based my whole business philosophy around that, and the ones that seem to do it like that have always seemed to have been more successful, vastly more successful, but also the way they analyze setbacks and problems, and the way they challenge themselves and get past them, is really, I think, they don't dwell on the setback. Okay, we have a setback. What's the solution?
Right.
And so I kind of just transformed that into my own form of, okay, solution based. How do we have our setback? Fine. And in the beginning, that was tough. I had to pretty much brainwash myself. I had to write down 30, 40 times a day. You know, I love earning this much in real estate. I love having a growth mindset, and wrote that every single day for 270 days straight. I
Oh,
wrote
wow.
that every single day, every morning I'd wake up and do that. But you have to do those types of things to get past your normal thinking.
Right.
And so once I did that, problems became easier. There's still problems, they're still annoying. I still get angry, but I still could give myself just one day to dwell on how bad the problem is. And then the day after that, it's time to go on the solution.
Right.
So
You can't, I mean, you can't sit there and it's not going to change it.
no,
Right.
no, it honed over time. I would say it's easier now when setbacks happen to jump right to solution finding. Whereas back when I first started, when every deal mattered, and you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
everything's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was harder in the beginning to move towards solution mindsets. It took longer, but now
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, you know, you're probably one of the leading experts in terms of real estate agents in the country, I would assume, on co-living and PadSplit. And so let's talk a little bit more about that, right? First of all, what is co-living? What?
my words, co-living is communal living for the young professional or the professional that is in need of housing but can't afford an apartment on their own.
Yeah.
And so we've created this platform with single family housing that allows people to room together and create community together and then get themselves to a better position to maybe move up into apartment, or even better, owning your own house, or maybe just bettering their financial situation. Maybe it's getting out of a life situation, but either way, it's providing housing that is good and safe and affordable
Yeah.
for people.
I think that's the key right there. And I'm sure it varies in every market,
Yeah.
but in terms of the Charlotte market, what's the average room in a co-living house go for?
Well, there's varying numbers, but we go by what PadSplit provides, which is the largest co-living property management company in the country. And in Charlotte right now, a shared bedroom, a room with a shared bathroom is going for about $825 to $850 per room per month.
Okay.
So, you're talking if you have 5, 6 rooms filled.
Yeah, it goes well. I mean, the average rent in Charlotte, I think last time I checked, was just over $1,700. So it's almost $1,000 a month cheaper.
Yes.
So it works for the affordable housing side of things.
Absolutely. They're still getting a great housing product. They still have full access to all those communal areas or the living areas, as you would say, like the kitchen and the laundry. So they're getting good quality product to live there at a fraction of the cost of what it would have been to do it on their own.
That's crazy. So what about, I'm a real estate investor. What makes this attractive for me? It sounds like I have a lot more management to do if I'm managing, all these different people instead of one family. So tell me more about that.
Yes, there's a little more inclusive management. There's a lot more moving pieces when you're dealing with leases and multiple leases on a house. But the returns are astronomical in comparison to what a single family rental will do. And many of these homes are outperforming Airbnbs and short term rentals in terms of gross and net incomes. You know, right now, I think, and you'll know this better than me, but I think the average rental is only netting maybe a couple $100 a month
If you're lucky.
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
Versus
yeah.
break even. So here you're, even with renting out your 6 rooms, you're guaranteed almost to make at minimum $500-600 net
Yeah.
every month. And even if you just bare minimum that, your returns are much better.
That's amazing. So, as you're helping this community and building this new investment vertical, when you're looking for real estate, obviously, I'm assuming most of the time you're not just taking a regular single family home and putting people in bedrooms. What are you doing to that property to really turn it into a good co-living property?
And it's the amount of people that you could put in your home obviously will vary depending on the jurisdiction and where you are in the country, but most homes are not coming with not don't have more than 4 or 5 bedrooms
Yeah,
at a
right.
time. So what we'll do is we will find suitable rooms and convert them into bedrooms and give them fans and privacy. They all have key coded doors and such for their own private access. And we convert living areas, sometimes even garages, depending on the layout of the house. But we add those rarely used spaces and we turn them into bedrooms and centralize all the communal areas.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um,
There's a little rehab involved with it, a little
yeah.
renovation involved with it.
So we've been talking a lot about co-living. I feel like, well, real estate as a whole and investing as a whole, teams are really important. But I think it's even more pivotal when you're doing something like co-living. So tell us more about the team, the people around you, and kind of how that's helped you create some success.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't do things alone, and co-living has a lot of moving pieces. And I would say, there anybody can get their real estate agent. Everybody can help you sell and buy a house, even if you know nothing about investors, right? And how investing works, you can do that. But the one thing I think bartending taught me better than anything is how to network, especially that little island where it was such a melting pot of people, personalities, nationalities, and such. So I really, and shout out to my mother, really taught me how to communicate well with people. And so networking is kind of my superpower. Connecting people is kind of my superpower. And so when we started kind of developing this into more of a system and co-living, we realized we needed a team of general contractors. We needed a great lender that understood the product and understood what we're trying to do, good insurers, good attorneys and title companies that help us facilitate these closings. All of that is vital in converting a house and turning it into co-living. And property management, that's another big one too, having the right property manager in place who has the threshold to work with multiple leases on a single property. It's a little different animal than the long-term leases. But, get a couple of houses to manage. It's kind of the same as having 20 houses in a portfolio that you have to manage. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that
it's
much
not that
different.
much different, but the team is so vitally important because as investors, you're expecting certain returns. And if you don't have a contractor that can do the job within budget, if you don't have a lender that can help limit your cash out of pocket, if you don't have an insurer that's going to protect the asset afterwards, then you're doomed to fail. If you don't have a
Yeah,
property manager to keep the property going and producing income, but also more importantly, maintaining it
yeah, it
properly,
could be huge.
your house it could be a disaster, but it also could be a massive windfall,
Yeah,
depending how well it's taken care of. So the team is just so vitally important.
I love that. I love that. So, real estate in investing is such an intricate thing, and there's so many different strategies out there, right? We have the Pace Morbies of the world, and sub two, and creative financing, and off market deals, and wholesalers, and all these different things. So, there's a lot of different methods. I don't think there's any one method that's the best or necessarily. It's whatever works for everybody, right? But investing, and especially working with investors, people make mistakes. So, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes you see investors make, especially in the co living space, from your real estate lens?
From my real estate lens, biggest mistakes are paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done to get out of that. I mean, a lot of investors, they invest out of state, so they're not physically there to see the asset. They're putting a lot of trust in the people, but that could lead to a lot of over analyzing things, and could cause them to either go forward with the deal when they shouldn't, or get out of the deal when maybe they should have stayed in the deal if
Right.
the numbers are good. Also, I see people, especially with investors, it's about the numbers. It has nothing to do with your emotional attachment to
Right.
the deal or to the property. And I find that happens a lot of times too, where they don't want to let it go when it's clear and obvious you shouldn't go through with this after say all the details.
Yeah. Yeah.
something like
Bad
that.
inspection or
Yeah.
numbers don't turn out the way that you think they should.
And then I think, a lot of times investors don't have, especially, first time investors or relatively newer investors or ones that are not really deep pocketed. There's not enough money in reserves to address things that are going to come up doing rentals
Right,
and
right.
doing real estate rentals. And I find that that's always a problem, is that there's always enough to get the job done and closed and get it up and running, but there's not enough money being put in reserves to tackle some of the ongoing
Maintenance
maintenance.
and vacancy and carrying costs.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people need to be way more conservative in their analyzing of the properties and the numbers they're putting in. If they think, and even if the data shows us that we can get 850 for a room or 1,000 for a room, put it at 900.
Yeah.
And if the numbers work at 900, they'll clearly work.
If you can get more, you can get more. Right,
Exactly.
right. But then it accounts for if you have to drop that price to get a tenant in there and fill a room.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
no,
try
that
to
makes sense.
pad my estimates for the renovations and such. I try to pad them with, even if it's unknown in the initial underwriting or the initial analyzing of the property, I try to pad the
Yeah,
capital expenditures, because you don't know what you're going to find when you start
right.
digging into these bones of these homes and start altering things. Oh, look, we have to switch it out of this entire electrical box to make this work. Well, how could we have accounted for that without digging in deeper?
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
it really got to pad your numbers and go conservative. I think is these are those all those things, I think, are the pitfalls that a lot of investors
Yeah.
run into.
Yeah, and I think that, I've seen personally so many people that love the idea of real estate. And I think in any major city, if you go to like a real estate investor network event, you're going to meet a ton of people that love the idea of real estate investing, but they just haven't done it. And so what do you think, in work when you work with a first-time investor, is there something that you can see click or something that you do to really say, "Hey, listen, this is a good deal. Let's do it," instead of still getting stuck at the starting line and not taking that leap?
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason they don't take a leap is they haven't built up a team yet that allows them to move forward
Yeah.
confidently. That's one. But I think for the first timers, when we're analyzing the deal, that we have tools that they can actually see the numbers.
Yeah.
And when they see the numbers and they see the income potentials, I think that's where it really starts to click. And they say, okay, yeah, let's move forward with this house. I think I can make $1,000 a month. I think I can make an extra $600 a month. And once they see the numbers, I think that helps them click and get into gear. But then still, if they don't have the right team to even help get them started, and I'm talking even if it's a financial issue that they have, not finding the right partner, not finding the right lenders to help them
Yeah.
or position them where they need to be. It could be as simple as they don't have a real estate agent that knows anything about investing. So why would they start? Um, some of them need help, need a nudge.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than looking at a stock chart. There's a lot more that goes into it for the average person to get it done.
Yeah.
So I think that's always been kind of a hesitation for people on the sidelines of wanting to start and going, that find the right people that know what they're talking.
Back to the team,
About
right?
people, exactly. And with the first timers, most likely you're going to need a lot of hand holding in the beginning.
Yeah,
It's okay.
always. Yeah.
Don't be. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to look stupid, or they're afraid that of what others are going to think of them if they fail at it. But really, I mean, if you want it bad enough, you're not going to fail at it. You're just going to learn
Right.
from mistakes made.
Well, I mean, real estate's one of those great things too that like, even if you buy a deal that's not great, if you hold on to real estate long enough, you're going to make money.
You have outlets.
There's always multiple exit options,
Absolutely.
right?
If the co-living didn't work for the house, you always have the option to turn it back into a long-term rental. Or maybe you're in a great area. Okay, let's turn it into a vacation rental again. Oh, that's not working. We've held it a few years. Let's sell it.
Yeah.
There's always multiple ways to get out of it. Some of it might take longer than others, but at least you'll be able to recoup some of those mistakes.
Right.
potentially,
Yeah.
save, maybe even break even for the first year or the first few years. You got to break even until you can
To
get
really get it.
yourself in
Yeah.
position,
Yeah.
but at least it's not something that it's not going to go to zero.
Right. Right.
So, and everyone needs housing regardless if it's long-term rental to one family or short-term rentals or just need a couple of rooms for a day or so. Somebody needs housing somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
So there's always an option.
mhm.
I love that. Okay, so now let's have a little fun. Tell me about your most awkward or most unique showing experience as a real estate agent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have one. I had a client wanting to look in the Waxhaw Weddington area,
Okay.
the area. Um, and it was this beautiful house, but nothing too extravagant, right around the 500,000s. And it was a nice large property. And towards the back of the property, it had this large barn. But the horse barn looked almost better and was built better than the house. So we said, "That's great. Let's go check out the horse barn." When we get upstairs, there is what looks like a frantic race to shred and get rid of documents. And yeah, it looked like some nefarious business stuff was going on there.
Really?
You saw business accounts on the whiteboard with X's going, "This owes us this," and hurry, get out, hurry and get out of this one. It looked like the feds had raided it.
Wow.
Yeah, and come to find out that the owners of the property, the husband had died at sea and no one knew how. But it turns out that they were wanted and for a tax evasion and all kind of stuff federal.
Oh, so there was really something going on.
Actually stuff going on.
Holy
And it
cow,
was
that's
just
crazy.
it was kind of like walking
Like the
you're
Twilight
kind of in
Zone.
a movie.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
walking through trying to piece it all together, like, oh, they own this company. Oh, look, there's the
It's crazy.
for this here. And it was just such a unique experience.
Playing Sherlock Holmes.
Exactly. And then even better was when we walked outside, they had this beautiful stone fireplace out in the yard. And right in front of the fireplace was a chair, just a chair, and
A huge pile of documents.
documents piled up in ashes all in the front. And there was cigar butts all over the floor. Like he had been doing this for
Yeah, it's been going on.
burning all his
Just kidding. That's wild.
That was probably one of the most unique showings ever. Man,
Uh,
we should not be.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't put your fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
So if you weren't doing real estate, what do you think you'd be doing?
If I wasn't doing real estate, honestly, I think I'd I think I'd still be in a bar or a restaurant somewhere. Honestly,
Hospitality somehow.
real estate saved my life. It freed me. I can now be with my kid. I don't need to go to 9 to 5.
Yeah.
My schedule is my own.
Well, even bartender. I mean, you could be working till 2 a.m.
Exactly. Yeah, I worked a lot later than that too on some of these nights. So yeah, really, this was the perfect angle for me. It utilizes all of the skills that I built in bartending and networking and all that, and then the returns on it are just so much better than any other job that I ever could have gotten.
Yeah.
Don't
Flexibility.
get me wrong, the work is hard and it's tedious and it's not as glamorous as they all say it is, but it does pay well. But you know, over time,
Yeah. You got to make it. You got to make it.
just like anything else. But
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. I didn't have a college degree, so I was awful in tech, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not good enough to be a pro golfer.
So yeah.
So I'm pretty much doing this.
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah. All right. So if there's anyone listening and maybe they've heard something, maybe they're interested in co-living real estate, maybe they want to learn more about Charlotte real estate, how can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on Facebook. They have my website, mattsellscarolinarealestate.com. You can find me on Google. You can find me through Trevor.
It's fair.
But yeah, I'm really easy to find and I'm always available.
I love that. So is there a perfect person that should be reaching out to you right now?
Anybody interested in investing, I'm talking if you want to just get started or you're a seasoned investor, even if you're a corporate buyer. At least here in Charlotte, I understand the investing market. I've got the tools to help us quickly analyze pretty confidently. We've got the team in place to help get the job done for you. But really, I want to see everybody become investors, quote unquote Kiyosaki, get out of the rat race.
Right.
And so if I can help you guys do that, I want to do that.
And don't forget too, he can help you buy a primary home, a vacation home. So there's other options, not just investing. That just happens to be.
But I just love investors and I love investing in real estate.
That's the bread and butter. Yeah. Well, awesome. I appreciate it, Matt. It was such a pleasure to learn a little bit more and share with the world about co-living and what you're doing here in Charlotte. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, dude, it's been great. Thanks.
Appreciate it for having me on.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys. Yeah, call Matt. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for our next episode. Every Friday, you're going to see a new entrepreneur, investor, or somebody that's going to share an amazing story on how they've created their level of success. So join us next week. We'll see you then.